Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League, for 1 week only, renamed the James Linden Show. My name's Serge.
My name is James Linden. How are you, Suj?
I am particularly all right this Monday morning, considering it was a dull weekend of football. And the reason I say that is mainly because you have had the bench boost from heaven.
It's not been bad. Yeah, I probably would sum it up best by saying my game week rank at the moment is 2,737.
Yeah.
I'm on 120 points currently with Edison, Mahrez and captain KDB to go tonight.
That's a phenomenal game week. We joked around before the game week. I say joked around. You were hoping to close a 40-point gap on me in one game week. I expected 20 points, roughly. I thought, you know what, based on what you've seen and the law of averages, if you close the gap by 20 to 25 points with the bench boost, I would have thought, yeah, realistic. I'm sitting on 81 points at the moment, which feels really disappointing, yet not. It's an odd one. It's one of those where I don't think there are any. I haven't made any bad decisions in who I've picked or my FPL strategy, but it's just that it's one of those where, look, some weeks everything just happens to fall your way. You've got to make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, I quite agree, mate. Did you get a green arrow or not?
Yeah. I'm still on a green arrow because the average is 53. I've still got Kevin De Bruyne, Leroy Sané, and Raheem Sterling to play. So
Leroy Sané.
Yeah, exactly. But if you think about, and then I suppose when you don't do well, I suppose it's an interesting conversation to have just while we start, because a lot of people on Twitter, you've got polarized people that have hit 80s, 90s that are very disappointed, and then you've got people like yourself in the 120s, 130s. I actually thought that I'm surprised how high your game week rank is. So what it says to me is there's not that many people that are higher, even though it may feel like on Twitter there are a lot of people that are higher. If you'd given me 81 points before the game week, then I would have taken it, and plus these 3 to go, right? So I'll probably get up to 95 or something like that. I would have taken it all day long.
The top score is 141 for the game week. Somebody messaged me earlier at 130, and their game week rank is 12th.
Wow. So really tight between that spot there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as well, because you can't help but self-reflect when you don't do well, right? Whether in a positive way or negative way. And I don't think I've done badly. It's more that this gap has been closed by more. This game week, before the lockdown had happened, I had geared myself up to have Doherty, Jimenez, Traore as my 3 walls for this particular fixture, right? And then Trent Alexander-Arnold and Kevin De Bruyne and all the rest of it. Like, my non-free hit team wouldn't be that far behind my free hit team. I'd be well up to at least. Yeah, exactly. Look, I had Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kevin De Bruyne, Danny Ings, Raul Jimenez, Traore, Matt Doherty. Like, I wouldn't be far behind. And McCarthy in goal. So you look at it and you think, I'd geared myself up for this week, which was that blank game week that was supposed to happen. And that would have been fine. So my FPL decision-making wasn't too bad. And then a couple of players that haven't worked out this game week would be, I'd say, Samatta. But we then recorded a podcast with Adam Hopcroft, who's a very experienced Villa fan and FPL manager. And Davies' name didn't come up in the conversation once as a potential who's going to creep up and play up top. It was like Samatta's been doing well before the break. He wasn't a bad choice. So it was one of those where I don't think it's a bad week to have a good game week, potentially. Yet everybody's other scores can take it very out of context all of a sudden, and you think, you know what? Oh, I should have had 100.
There's huge disparity in scores when you consider the overall average, and it's worth saying 75% of players currently are inactive, but the overall average is 54. So, I mean, you know, I can't think I've ever had a game week before where I've been more than 100% above the average. That surely has never happened to me before. And I'm pretty sure, unless KDB doesn't play tonight and Burnley score, I'm pretty sure that I'm still going to be more than 100% above the average. That's mental, really, which is why I've halved the rank, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because on one side, this is you planned this. You planned this, like playing TAA and the 3 Wolves guys and Danny Ings was a calculated decision that you made. So I don't think it's funny where people say, "Oh, it's lucky, everything's worked out," but it can't be luck because you made the decisions to pick those players. Yeah, you need luck for them to all to come in the way that they did.
Oh,
I don't know.
Course.
So what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't lucky, but you need luck. It sounds a very confusing statement to come out of my mouth because what I don't want to come across here is saying you were lucky, James. There's no luck involved in the sense of the decisions you made, but it couldn't have worked out better. And that's why I'm saying it's the James Linden show today.
Well, reality is if Norwich, Southampton and West Ham and Wolves stayed 0-0, it's a crap bench boost. Is the reality. I put my 4 weakest players on the bench, which is what I always do, is Leno, Ings, Doherty and Traore. And the reason I went for those 4 was I thought Jimenez would score. I thought all of these players would return, to be honest, but I thought these were the least likely. And I'm always confident of Trent, you know that.
Yeah, of course.
Those 4 between them, Leno, Ings, Doherty and Traore, have got 33 points. Now, even if I, from my 15 players, took the 4 lowest scorers, it's still 18 points. And you know where I set that marker, right? Is at 16.
Yep.
So I'm so pleased with the way it's worked out. I feel like these things never work out for me. And it adds up. What I would say is it really has opened my eyes a little bit to future double game weeks in the future. Now, this one's a little bit different because there was an enforcement to have for bench boosters 3 single game week players at least. And in future double game weeks, unless you've got only 4 teams with doubles, that's not the case, is it? You only need 6 teams doubling and you can pick 15 doublers, right? So it's really interesting for next season if it changes my mindset to think, because looking at the guys who've done nothing for me, like McGinn and Grealish and Aubameyang, you know, would I be better off looking at that in the future and taking that major gamble on people like Ings and Doherty because I fancy them with the fixture, etc. We'd have to wait and see how it works out in 9 months' time or whenever it is. But it's opened my eyes to it. And
what's happening in 9 months' time? Something happening that I don't know about.
Double game week. Double game week, hopefully. Listen, right, okay. Your missus might be pregnant. I can fucking tell you my name.
Do you know what? It's a complete side joke. Trust me, I'm not having any more kids. But by the time my son was your age, another one was on the way. All I'm just saying. There was a question in the Twitter questions today saying with all the goal celebrations that were baby ball under the belly and thumb in the mouth this weekend, do we think in 9 months there's going to be a spate of lockdown babies with Premier League footballers that are coming out? But that's a separate note.
There could be, yeah. They'll all be missing blank game week 31 next year because they've all been at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to take credit where it's due. What a phenomenal result. Someone in the show's got to hold up the scores. So, yeah, I think the 2 gambles that I had that people might have said, was Pepe. I mean, Pepe came in the end with that 8-pointer. I'd take, if you offered me 8 points before the game week, I'd say, yeah, fine, I'll take that. And could have been a little bit more. Leroy Sané, I'm reliant on tonight. I mean, 5 subs for City and he doesn't come on. What?
Well, you get Jordan Ayew off the bench if he doesn't play, mate, which is, it's only 5 points, but it's better than a smack in the mouth, isn't it?
That is very true. But it was after the first game that the news broke, obviously, that Sané, that in Pep's press conference, that Sané hasn't signed a new contract and all the rest of it on Friday, which now makes me think he's less like if I had a player who was refusing to sign a contract, which is one of the reasons I don't think we should have played Ngakia at the weekend, regardless of whether he's the best right back we have. I don't think Sané will play. I don't think he should play. If I was the manager, I wouldn't pick a player that wasn't committed to the club. So I now feel like Sané is not going to play tonight.
Spoiler, everybody who's listening to this knows he's coming on for a 1 point at me.
Yeah, and if he does, he does. At the end of the day, that's fine. But it would have been nice to know. Had I known that news that he's not signing a contract, like
you wouldn't have taken the gamble. I know.
Maybe I wouldn't have taken the gamble. I would have stuck with Riyad Mahrez potentially. So it's one of those. You take it on the chin. football's one of those where if you want the ups, you got to take the downs. Right? You cannot. If you think, I can't beat myself up when it gets too down, you don't know what the up is unless you have the yin and yang on either side. So those nights of celebrations that we've had versus those nights of absolute disappointment go completely hand in hand, or you level it out.
I think this is my Sadio Mane triple captain revenge. I think I earned this little bit of luck for what happened to me in that game week, and then my own mistake of not getting Salah straight away the game week afterwards. However, the weekend has changed my thoughts somewhat in terms of strategy. What I've seen, I've watched every game. I'm now thinking of wildcarding now. Not sitting on a good week and going, yeah, that's great, and going, nah, let me tear this apart, because what's happened with Sheffield United defensively, hanging on to Grealish, McGinn, and what I've seen of Villa over 2 games, thinking, I want to mash this up. I mean, if Mahrez and De Bruyne play for me tonight for Man City, that's bloody dangerous for this week as well. So I'm looking at it on paper and going, okay, yeah, I can probably still put out a half-decent team this week. I'm really thinking of wildcarding now. And the reason that change of philosophy's come about is basically what I've seen of the games and a lot of what I saw Friday, where my opinion pre-game week was, fine, I'll take a hit. I'll get Mane in for game week 31 and I'll captain him. And now believing that Mane is not the best captaincy option this week. And to my surprise, I didn't think I'd be here pre-game week, now thinking it's Bruno Fernandes. Now, I can very easily go to Mahrez to Bruno Fernandes in one move. But then that still leaves me with 3 Sheffield United defenders, and they're in a mess now, which we'll come on to. And certainly not wanting them Villa players hanging about either. And I've got the value tied up in like Edison and Leno if I don't move off that as well. So it's leading me to a wild card and thinking of going without Mane and Salah completely. And the reason for that is not just 31, but looking further ahead and thinking Palace, Burnley, Newcastle are really stubborn defensively. Are they, where on paper they look like good fixtures, are they actually really the best captaincy in those game weeks? And then, yeah, it still leaves Liverpool against Villa and Burnley in 33 and 34. But Manchester United play Bournemouth and Villa in the same 2 game weeks. And if I go Bruno Fernandes and go against it, then it allows me something serious in my squad. And I'm actually looking at it a perspective at the moment. I haven't decided, but I will do by tomorrow, of not having any fodder. And I'm talking about going with, other than Martinez, is likely to be everybody's second goalkeeper. I think anybody who's wildcarding is going to go that way, I should imagine. But actually looking at having 5 defenders in sort of the 5.3 to premium bracket, 5 midfielders where the cheapest could well be Adama Traore, and then a really nice kind of budget front 3 of Ings, Jimenez, which I've got, and adding Calvert-Lewin to it now that he's off the back of that Liverpool fixture. The reason I like that front 3 as well is there's something those 3 all have very good in common, and it's movement. And I think that's where a lot of goals are going to be coming from on what I've seen over the weekend, is good movement in and around the box. So I like that as a front 3. There's obviously no power in there, and it probably means me relying on a given week Fernandes, De Bruyne, or Jimenez as a captain. But what it allows me in the rest of the squad is so big in comparison to going with Mane or Salah. And I can rotate. So, for example, I might even look this week, if I wildcard, at getting, say, Marcos Alonso as part of a really strong back 5, with no intention of playing him against Manchester City this week, but with the intention then of rotating out, for example, Laporte and maybe even Trent when City and Liverpool play each other in 32 and Chelsea play yourselves. And I'm looking to go really strong with it. So I need to give that some serious thought, and I'm now really leaning into a wild card. When I would use my free hit, no idea, but I suspect with what kind of makeup I'm going to be about with the squad I'm now thinking about, it could well actually end up in 38. And that's partly because reassessing the clubs that I want to target is that Chelsea and Wolves play each other, and Leicester and Manchester United play each other in game week 38. And therefore, from that perspective, it actually is probably then the right time to go back and and look at others, and then power back in maybe for Liverpool, Man City in the final game week.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of my questions to you is going to be, are you taking any hits this week? Because if you start taking a couple of hits, then obviously that takes a hit on the points total, which isn't really such a big deal. When you scored so many, you can kind of afford to do that. You're in a better position than you thought. Like, if I was to wildcard this week, it would absolutely be a knee-jerk reaction to losing ground at the week. I didn't really lose ground. I kept pace. I kept level on my rank and level on everything. So, but I'd planned not to, because I've got triple Liverpool going into Crystal Palace at home. I've got triple Wolves going into Bournemouth at home. Danny Ings against Arsenal at home, I'll back him. Vardy at Brighton at home, I'll back him. De Bruyne, I'll back any day of the week. Doesn't matter who he plays. He can be playing Barcelona week in, week out. And then I've got the choice of Cantwell, who's got Everton, or Charlie Taylor, who's got Watford, or even Doucouré. I could pick any one of those three. Now, Alex McCarthy was a doubt, but he played at the weekend, so I think he's got the nod. So I was potentially going to have to use my free transfer on sorting out a goalkeeping problem. I don't have to do that now. So I'm not going to be making big moves this week, other than Salah's going to go to Bruno Fernandes. I'll bank the money for this week if I don't want to take a hit, and then I'll reassess after 2 rounds of fixtures to decide where I want to go with this. So, should we talk about some of these games, James, from Friday night? Oh, Friday late afternoon.
We can. I tell you what will definitely push me into that wild card. Definitely, is if De Bruyne and Mahrez are both in that Man City team tonight. That will definitely push me into the wild card. I think if they both play tonight, even though it's Chelsea on Thursday, I don't think they'll play at Chelsea, and then it looks a mess. Mm. And I would keep De Bruyne on the wild card, and I would actually leave him out of my team in game week 31. I'd leave him on the bench. So convinced that he wouldn't play.
Then why are you scared of the 1 pointer by leaving him in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I would just have so many other assets that I think I can go and attack. So I'd have triple Wolves. I'd probably have Son, Fernandes. I can go with like Maguire, Trent, etc. It will still be a very, very, that front three, I said, it will still be a very, very strong squad. Who else am I going to be kind of leaving out from that sort of team? I would probably leave something like Alonso, Laporte, De Bruyne on the bench, which sounds ridiculous, right? But it would still be a very strong 11 if I compensate myself by not going with that Mane, Salah and that budget front three.
The strategy that you've approached here with a strong 15, if we want to call it that, big at the 15 or whatever we'll call it, instead of big at the back. I think there's other justifications for it as well. So pretty much every side used all of their 5 substitutions over the weekend. Now, this weekend might be an anomaly because of lack of fitness, match fitness from coming back. But I see all clubs using all their substitutions as much as possible in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, you tell Mourinho that.
I see substitutions happening as much more frequent. There was an interesting on Talk Radio. They were talking about how the 5 substitutions genie is now out of the bottle. They were talking about whether or not it will stay permanently, or there might be a middle ground of 4, because once managers have got the taste for being able to, you look at American sport, like American football, they basically have everybody on the bench and they can make as many changes as they want, as often as they want. So it's a genie that's out of the bottle potentially. I do see a lot more substitutions. So if you pick a player, the likelihood of getting 30 minutes is higher than it was previously, with the intensity of the fixtures and the ability to make 5. So having that balance across your squad is fine, because you'll see players on and off all the time, getting dropped, getting knocked.
The reason, for example, to give you a good example of this, it's about knowing if a player's going to be rotated, are they likely to be used as a substitute or not? Now, there's certain ones where I think there's good examples of they'll play or they won't play at all. And I think like Laporte is a good example of that, where if you've got the good coverage, he'll start the majority of games is how it's going to look. But if he's left out, I don't think Pep will use him as a substitute. And that actually, in this scenario, I think potentially makes him quite a strong pick if you go with a strong bench. I also think, because there's a lot of questions, I'm sure we've got some today about what's the best week to bench boost. I can't answer that. It's completely dependent on your squad, your structure, your bench, and where the best fixtures are. But going this sort of approach without Mane and Salah and having a more balanced and having a bench that looks something like Wan-Bissaka, Calvert-Lewin and Adama Traore is going to lead you somewhere to be in quite a strong position where you go, bloody hell, I've got a good bench this week. And when you think you've got that, bloody hell, I've got a good bench this week, pull the trigger.
Yep,
don't overthink it. Pull the trigger as soon as it looks good. If you look like you've got a great bench this week, pull the trigger. There isn't a prime week to use it. It's going to be completely dependent on how your squad looks.
Mm-hmm. Let's chat about some of these games. Norwich 0, Southampton 3 in the early kickoff. Norwich, with the amount of injuries they had defensively, we were concerned about them, and I think quite rightly so.
Yeah, we said Thursday that right towards the end of the podcast that it was a huge blow, and I don't think we should understate that. I thought they were hugely disappointing. Defensively, just a mess. Yet, probably of all the teams I watched this weekend, they had the best opening 5 minutes of any side. Southampton couldn't get out their half in the opening 5 minutes. I thought, wow, they're right on it here. But they are so susceptible, particularly in their defensive midfield zones, to getting counter-attacked on, that they are not keeping clean sheets. And it's the same thing that we said right from the start, that they're going to have to score 2 or 3 goals in a game to win. And that's not changed. It might even be in a worse position. Just an interesting side bit off Norwich is, you might have noticed one of the things that, for me, potentially now looking to wildcard, is it wouldn't include Aubameyang, who on paper looks to stand out captaincy in game week 32, Arsenal at home to Norwich. I know Adam at 352 strongly thinks that Aubameyang won't start against Norwich. So he thinks he'll definitely play against Southampton on Thursday, and then they've got the FA Cup tie against Sheffield United on the Sunday. And he just thinks, and then I think it's 3 days to Norwich and 3 days to Wolves. He just thinks Norwich is so prime for him to be left out, and they won't need him against Norwich. Whatever, we'll come on to them and the state of them. But I think there's others that might also have this approach with Norwich at the moment. So as much as I like Calvert-Lewin this week, for example, it wouldn't hugely shock me after Liverpool yesterday if he was left out. Same applies to Richarlison. Now, at the moment, I think they'll both play. But with Norwich's fixtures coming ahead, I wouldn't be that surprised if there's rotation where people go, you know what, sod it. They're the worst team in this league, with the best respect. This is a good week to be leaving players out against them. Mm-hmm. Something to take on board.
From an FPL point of view, I think Norwich are now firmly in the waste paper basket in the corner.
They're a wire. Cantwell's fine budget, but you can make a strong case now, I think, that Saka is a better option at the same price if you didn't want some sort of Arsenal coverage.
Agreed.
Must say, though, very impressed with Southampton. Very, very impressed.
And Danny Ings in particular had a very good game, both ends of the pitch. He just seemed fit and sharp, like one of the former criticisms of Danny Ings being that he is made of glass. I mean, he came back and looked one of the players that hadn't looked like he'd been away from the football at all, doing his defensive duties. I thought Obafemi was strong, direct. Good. He played particularly well as well. I mean, he's very cheap at 4.9. I don't think his minutes necessarily will be reliable. But to come back in and do what he did particularly well. Even Armstrong had a good game and has been picking up points. So there are options there at Southampton. But Danny Ings just really is the standout from there.
It makes complete sense for Southampton to play Obafemi for the rest of the season, or certainly in a majority of games. Really, really does. It's a very good foil for Ings as well, in terms of he'll do the grafting up front. It actually means that Ings playing a little bit deeper, which is something that I've feared. But again, it might give him a little bit more in terms of movement and space coming onto things, a little bit like the goal on Friday, where he's managed to step onto the pass and come inside. And we know he can finish. He likes that finish into the far corner. Shout out as well for Armstrong. He's only 5.2. He's a better choice than Nathan Redmond, a million more. I'm a fan of Nathan Redmond. I think it's terrific.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know what Godfrey's doing on that third goal. Fitness, maybe. It's so poor defensively. But Armstrong would be the better shout. And if you want a cheap way in to Southampton at 5.2, it's not too bad. He's got 4 goals this season, two assists. He's obviously missed large chunks with little bits of injuries and that as well. Didn't actually start a game until game week 11. It's not bad. And when he does score, he does tend to hit in bonus as well. At one point, he was tying. I looked, he was tying with Ings for top bonus. And you know Danny Ings is a bit of a bonus magnet himself as well, right?
He really is.
So Armstrong's a decent shout. A decent shout. Southampton have an indifferent run. Arsenal, Watford, City, Everton, United. It feels like not attacking, but certainly for me personally, Danny Ings is such a talisman as well. I've got value in him. I'm 0.5 up. I suspect a few will be drawn back to him now as well, considering Arsenal's state defensively and Southampton's performance at Norwich. So it could be I'm in a nice position value-wise with him as well. I think he could stay till the end for me, Danny Ings, possibly. I don't mind it at that value.
No. Let's talk about the evening game, because a lot of our listeners will know that you're diehard Spurs and want your take on your team, as well as a little bit of a rundown on Manchester United. I mean, I said it to you off air, I think, before we recorded. I had a tweet ready for half-time in the game, said to say that Spurs are tired of robbing the blue half of Manchester. Now they're doing it to the red half. Yeah, United should have won that game. United should have won that game. I'm trying to be polite here, James. United should have won that game.
Should they?
I think defensively, I thought Spurs were okay, though. I thought you held your shape, kind of kept them reasonably at arm's length throughout the game. You had structure, and it was hard for United to break you down and have some real clear-cut chances. But you look at Martial's left foot, that Lloris made a cracking save.
Oh, what a save that was.
It was one of those that where he got his hand behind the ball, I have no idea. And United had more of the attacking chances, more of the possession. You sat in so deep. But that was the game plan, and it held out. So it wasn't the best. It wasn't the most exciting game plan, but it did the job. And I just think United should have won. They should have won, but you can't take it all the way. For Spurs weren't lucky. It was a game plan that they executed. But I'd be worried from an attacking
United, for me,
Spurs.
Truthfully, were poor until Pogba steps on the football pitch. It only looked like something was going to come through Fernandes, hitting a weldy or creating space and finding the right pass to Martial.
Right. He was busy. He was getting the ball.
Martial was one of his usual disinterested days, yet could have had a couple in the second half.
Exactly. That's what he does, right? He does nothing, and then bang, suddenly you've got 2 goals out of him, or a goal and an assist. So that's what you get with Martial.
I didn't think they were great. Obviously, they battered us for the 20-minute period up until the equaliser, and it was grim viewing. I think, just to cover Pogba briefly, I think he's going to go back in that team in a deeper position, and their setup will be very similar to what we saw on Friday night. I suspect Greenwood is in a position now where he should probably be playing instead of Daniel James. Might be a really, really interesting one to keep an eye on, because I think he's got 12 in all comps.
It's a great goal record.
Admittedly, a lot of them are against Mickey Mouse teams in Europa and League Cup and stuff like that. But he can hit it. We know he can. He loves coming inside on that left peg. I think he's in a position now with teams sitting deeper where Daniel James' effectiveness becomes far less. And they've got enough pace in the rest of the team with Martial, Rashford, etc. as well. So I think there's every chance Greenwood will come into the team. He'd be a super, super punt for anyone free hitting this week, by the way. And I think Fernandes, importantly, will stay in that position where he is so effective. I mean, that pass he played for Martial when Eric Dyer made the blocks out of this world. It's only over 10 yards or so, but it's absolutely brilliant, the turn and the pass. Few footballers in world football can do that. He's a better player than I thought he was. And he's an absolute priority for me from an FPL perspective.
Agreed. A lot of people asking about Spurs attacking assets, and mainly, if you're on YouTube, you can see my W or whatever on my face.
You need to do the fingers more.
I've got off. I haven't got arthritis, but I've got old man hand, so I'm not even going to try it.
Right.
Stephen Bergwijn put his hand up. potentially, you did say you think he's going to hold the shirt potentially for a short period of time.
I think he's a bad pick. I thought the first thing to say is I thought he was Spurs' best player on Friday night. Goal aside, his work rate defensively was top draw. Really, really good. Come back and hit the ground running. Very important to remember with Spurs. And Ndombele, we never know where we're at fitness-wise. I mean, it's probably a different podcast, different time. But why Mourinho didn't use him when he said he had no players to change the game? He didn't think he could give him 10, 15 minutes. Same for Ryan Sessegnon, by the way. And only used 2 subs when they were fucking out on their feet. I'd have put anyone on for Harry Kane. Harry Kane was fucked. Take him off the pitch and get another body out there who can run and put pressure. I'd have put on Ndombele to go and man Mark Pogba for 10 minutes, personally. To get round him, annoy him. I think he would have risen to that challenge. But what you got to remember with that is Ndombele to come back potentially. At the moment, we don't know where he's at fitness-wise. But Celso wasn't fit. Apparently, he only trained on Thursday properly in terms of full training because he'd had a knock in the build-up. So he's to come back in. Lucas took a bang on the head day before training as well, which is why he was absent. And Dele Alli back from suspension. And suddenly you throw all that in. If you've got Son, Kane, Bergwijn starting in a front three, who's coming off first?
Bergwijn.
There's your answer. Lamela can also move out to the right potentially if Dele Alli comes back in. Lo Celso can also, as you saw, came on and played in that position on the right. Gedson Fernandes can also play in that position on the right. And obviously, it's Lucas's best position as well. There's major competition in that position if Bergwijn's going to play on the right. I think at the moment he's earned the shirt, he'll stay in the team, but I think he'll be coming off around the hour mark quite regularly. Particularly if he's going to be putting in that sort of shift defensively, which was excellent. In terms of Spurs' style in the game, that second half was a brutally bad watch, but I accept the circumstances of why it happened in terms of lack of fitness with so many players' first game for 3 months, Son's first for 4 months, Kane's first for 6 months, although especially with Kane, he had to take him off the pitch. For anybody, by the way. I understand why it got that narrow and that defensive. And if we held on and won 1-0, I'd be happy. So I'm not going to slam the manager for this one, other than the fact he really, really should have been making some substitutions. However, we play like that against you tomorrow night, I'll be pissed off because I want to see us go and play football. What annoyed me was we scored in the first half when the game was level and probably United were edging it. And for 10 minutes afterwards, we played really, really well. And as soon as United equalised, it became an even game again. And we went forward again. I want to see, I can't enjoy my team playing like that. That's the big problem. But I accepted it under the circumstances on Friday night. It's not something I'll accept regularly. So for those waiting for me to bash Mourinho on his tactics from Friday night, I'm not particularly going to. I was more annoyed at the lack of substitutions and what it does for team morale when he says, I had no players on the bench who can change the game. When he's got Ndombele sitting there, cost 60 million. A young kid in Ryan Sessegnon who can play multiple positions. He can play left back, left midfield, right midfield. You can play him in a hole and say and not be brave enough to use them. It just sends out such a negative message. That was my biggest gripe.
Any change in your opinion on Manchester United assets that you want? I still think defensively they'll be all right because what David De Gea does his job properly, and that could have easily been a clean sheet. I think Harry Maguire at 5.3 is on my radar. I'm going to move away from double Liverpool defence, which I've got Robertson and Trent, not least because that's a ton of money. And Harry Maguire at 5.3, now they've got the Spurs game out of the way, still there for me. Maguire and Bruno Fernandes are basically must-haves for me. And then if you want to chuck in a third, whether it's a Martial or a Rashford or another, you go for it. But Maguire and Fernandes for me are the ones.
If I go wildcard, Bruno Fernandes. Well, I mean, Bruno Fernandes coming in either way this game week.
Yeah.
But it will be Maguire or Wan-Bissaka is in my thinking at the moment. Now, there's two thoughts. I mean, they're the same price. That's important to say. Maguire's only picked up bonus in 2 games. When he scored at Chelsea and he got the 15-pointer and also away to Burnley over the Christmas period. Flip of that is, I think with the conditions at the moment, he's likely to have more of the ball, more passes, etc. So that may help from a bonus perspective. Wan-Bissaka is more likely to pick him up, but he's not particularly capable of having the 15-pointer every now and again that Maguire might get you at some point. So I think that's a really, really close call between the two players. But it would be an either or. I think I will probably lean towards Wan-Bissaka, actually. Because if I'm doing it with this strong depth of bench, I'm not too bothered if he's going to miss out one here or there. And I just think on a general game-to-game, he's likely to hit a baseline that's slightly higher than Maguire, although Maguire has a greater capability to hit you a 15-pointer. But, I mean, that's his only goal this season was that goal at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really, really close call. On Spurs, I would sum up by saying, if I wildcard, I would probably go with Son.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he's the best choice. He offers great value. He's capable of explosiveness. He will benefit from having the 90 minutes on Friday. There's obviously the 4-day gap to West Ham, and then there's a massive gap to the Sheffield United game. And there's a couple of games afterwards, Everton, Bournemouth, Arsenal, where he's very, very capable of doing some damage. So if I wildcard, I will likely go with Sonny and give it a run. Kane would be under no consideration. He's completely unfit at the moment. Just want to mention as well, obviously Eric Dyer played at centre-half. He's obviously made a massive rick for the penalty, but actually thought otherwise he played really, really well. And if that's going to be the partnership, Dyer and Sanchez, it might actually be a little bit stronger than it has been. So something to keep an eye on.
Watford 1, Leicester 1. I only got highlights. I don't have BT Sport. I thought I'd log in on my iPad, but I don't. So I didn't watch the full game. I've only caught the highlights on this. Yeah. Give us a rundown. What do you think? Meh.
First half was bad, as a lot of them have been. I really enjoyed the second half, actually. I think the score was probably about right in the end. If you think of the chances that Decore had in the first half, particularly Ismail Assar's in the second, which was a very, very good save by Schmeichel. I think it was probably about right. I think in terms of what I saw in the game, was very impressed with the centre-halves of both sides. Interesting one to mention from a Leicester perspective is Damari Gray. Harvey Barnes had an ice pack on him, I think around the calf or ankle area after the game. It could just be precautionary. But for those considering a free hit this week, Damari Gray at 5 million will certainly fill some holes for you and would be a good 1 week punt. I wouldn't call him anything more than that, but he could be a really, really good shout for free hitters this week for those who are considering that route. I think I'd be a little concerned about Vardy, although I do think he'll return tomorrow. I think Brighton is the right sort of fixture for him. But I just think you're just not going to get that space in behind in games that we're normally expecting. And Vardy's another one. His movement in and around the box is very, very good. But his greatest asset is Maddison gets on the ball or whomever, and he wants to spin in behind straight away. Teams are just sitting off as soon as they're losing possession. I think one of the main reasons for that is obviously teams are being cautious to start with. It felt a little bit like watching the first games in the World Cup tournament.
Yeah.
A little bit, don't lose the first game. So it might be a little bit different this week. But also over the next few days, it's going to get extremely hot.
Very hot.
And that's also teams are not going to go pressing in 30 degrees heat. I've seen even, I think, Chelsea Man City at kickoff Thursday night could be around about the 28, 29 mark, which crazy. Is high. That's at 8 o'clock and that's high, right? So you're not going to get teams pressing that you might expect. So it's going to be natural. Lose the ball, seed the ground and step back. And that's not going to help people like Jamie Vardy. Although, like I said, I do think he'll return tomorrow. If I was free hitting, he'd be in for that Brighton fixture. I think definitely I wouldn't put anybody off that. But I'm not sure it'll go that great for him for the remainder of this period, actually. He was a bit frustrated at the weekend, I thought, because that pass was never on. I mean, Watford now under Pearson are not the sort of side that we're going to go and play with a high line anyway. But perhaps something to keep an eye on. Also, Justin at right back was great.
Yeah. Really,
really good. Offers a nice alternative to Siyunku at that sort of value if people haven't got Leicester coverage. And I think you can look. They've got a very, very good run of fixtures. So one certainly to keep an eye on. Although oddly enough, I might go without,
Leicester at all, or you mean Justin?
Leicester, I might just completely go without. Because partly as well is I think I'm probably going to put myself in a position where it will be difficult to get to Vardy, but it's not. It's one hit away. I think all the others I can come back to. So if I want to go to Harvey Barnes or Justin or Siunku.
Sideways moves. You'd have players in your squad that are valued.
They're all going to be really easy. They're going to be really easy to get to. And I'm a little bit put off by the potential Harvey Barnes injury because he was in great form, wasn't he? But he was quiet really Saturday. He was quiet. And Maddison, I ain't going back to.
No, don't forget that. He's done for the season. Let's talk about Brighton 2, Arsenal 1. Arsenal doing an Arsenal. Disappointing. I think you've got to remember, like, as much as it's a 2-1 defeat, it's a 95th minute 2-1 defeat, and they should have won that game with the chances that they had. They just didn't put them away. And Arsenal doing an Arsenal. Ultimately, I think Brighton. Those 3 points, what does that leave them on now? 35?
32 points.
Oh, 32. So one more win, they're up to 35. A lot of people using that magic number of 36. I think it's going to be a little bit higher. I think it's going to be 37, 38 is going to be what you need to stay up. 38 probably. So there's 3 points.
I think they'll be absolutely okay now, Brighton. Absolutely okay. They play Norwich in game week 33. If they win the fixture, they're safe, in my opinion. Because they'll pick something up in the running.
Enough. Yeah,
they'll pick something up in the running.
Those 3 points have given them a great chance of staying up, but a couple of defeats.
They're also, in my opinion, of the sides down there, they're the most capable of taking points off the so-called bigger sides. So, for example, they play Leicester and Manchester United next. If you line those two up against the bottom 6 at the moment, I know Watford have just drawn with Leicester, but generally Brighton are the side I would fancy most to get points against that sort of opposition because the style they play with, the varying tactics can cause surprise. You know what you're getting with Watford. It's not to criticise them, but Brighton on a given day could cause something that will surprise. It's also a hindrance for them quite a lot as well. I think important to say what you started with, Suj. Arsenal should have won really with the chances that they had. Aubameyang or Blankeyang this weekend, but yeah, he certainly could have had a couple at the weekend. Lacazette had a couple of sniffs as well, and he's snatching at things generally. But it's the same problems with them.
So many people
are same problems.
Talking about moving away from Aubameyang, never going back to Aubameyang. The guy scored 17 goals this season. That's no joke. Any striker that puts 20 a season away consistently in the Premier League is a good striker. He's not delivered this week. I don't think anybody jumping away from. If people jump away from Aubameyang and they get hurt on Thursday whenever Arsenal play, it wouldn't surprise me at all. So don't just jump on him as a bad player. But Arsenal, yeah, I mean, it's the defensive issues that's the problem. The lack of.
It's worth saying importantly on Aubameyang, look, one thing they should probably add on to Southampton is I think if they can sort themselves out defensively in the transfer window, etc., which they probably won't be able to, I think they have the makings of a very good side, actually, Southampton. But defensively, they ain't great either, by the way. And someone like Aubameyang can absolutely exploit that on Thursday. I think the interesting flip on it is kind of what I said when I was debating wildcard ideas. I don't think he's going to play that Norwich fixture. I don't think he's going to start. Now, he could come on and play half hour and still score twice, right? But I think he will be most people will hold on to him are going to captain him against Norwich, I think. With Liverpool playing Man City the same day. I think it's just natural.
If I owned him, I wouldn't.
Then it's a big value for someone you're not going to captain. That's part of the point. Doubt. He's 11 million a player and you don't have the cojones to captain him at home to Norwich.
Yeah. It's the team that are bottom of the league, one of the top goal scorers in the league. My head says, yes, Aubameyang is the right captain. My heart and my gut just says, ooh, pick a safer option. At the moment, pick a safer option with the way things are. So you're right. You're right there.
Arsenal play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. The Sheffield United game, should they not beat Southampton on Thursday, their league season is completely finished.
Yeah.
Then the Sheffield United game as the FA Cup quarter-final becomes big. Then it's Wolves the following Saturday. You want to leave your best player out against Wolves? I don't think so. So if he's going to miss one of those 4 games, which is over a 10-day period, it's Norwich. That has to be a concern.
Any other FPL assets like Saka at 4.7 you mentioned? I didn't see anything from Arsenal anywhere else that made me think that.
Saka interesting because he played in a position that most won't have seen him playing before. He basically played in a number 10 position. He can obviously play left. He can play right. He can play at left back. He's probably been the story of Arsenal's 2020 as emergence, basically. He looks a very, very good little player. He's 4.7 million, as I said earlier, probably offers a better alternative, in my opinion, now to Cantwell. Yes, there will be rotation, but you're probably not going to start him most weeks at that value, and it's okay if he offers you something off the bench with a start. I mean, for that Norwich fixture, for example, if he hasn't played at Sheffield United in the Cup, you'd start him, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It'd be very, very interesting. So I think Saka, great. A lot of people are going to get drawn to Martinez. My advice on that would be, yes, go and buy him. Yes, go and get a better goalkeeper with him, though. I wouldn't be looking at him at plus 4.0. I can't see clean sheets in them. Rob Holding is difficult to criticise.
If you buy Martinez, you're buying him knowing what you're getting. You're getting a cheap goalkeeper that might get you the odd save point, and you're then freeing up that budget to go elsewhere. So if you do go down that route over, let's say, a Pope, you've got 0.7. Just have a look at what it buys. What are you doing with that 0.7? For me, I don't like that strategy. I think have a better goalkeeper because there are budget options elsewhere in the outfield 10 that you could drop down a 0.7 and find good value in. That Traore's 5.3 or there's just so many good players at 6s, 7s, 8s that you don't need to make that sacrifice to get Martinez, and definitely not waste transfers on it.
Suj is going to disagree with this, but I think Fabianski is a good rotator for him. I really, really do. If you're going to
buy Fabianski, just stick with the 4.9 and whack a 3.9 or 4 million keeper. That 0.2, in my opinion, is a waste at that point. Unless you're really worried about Fabi getting off injured or something.
If you go with that rotation, right, you can have games against Southampton, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley, Norwich again, Watford, and then Aston Villa and Watford. That's a good rotation.
We're going to talk about West Ham in a second. So
I prefer Pope, though. And what's interesting to sum up Arsenal and defensively is if you go Pope and Martinez, you won't pick Martinez very often.
No, definitely not. West Ham 0, Wolves 2. Thoughts on the game?
Shouldn't we really start with you, mate?
Well,
just for Brighton, by the way, we got FPL Seagull on Clash of the Correspondents tomorrow, so we're going to pass it by a little bit.
Yeah. When I saw the lineup, I thought it was a lineup that had workers in there, apart from maybe Felipe Anderson, because Souček, Noble, Bowen, Antonio, Fornals, especially towards the end. There were players that will put a shift in. They weren't shy of putting a shift in. Anderson, you don't know what you're going to get, hot or cold. Rice as centre-back, I don't mind. Like if you see Eric Dyer playing at centre-back, you might think, oh, he doesn't play that often. Rice grew up as a centre-back, so I didn't mind him back there. I feel like I can trust him to do and make the right decisions. Cresswell at left-back, if Traore had started, we would... you don't put a 400-year-old player against Traore. And I didn't think Ngakia should have started, I'll be honest with you, regardless of what. If he's due to leave the club in 8 days or 9 days, don't start him. It just doesn't make sense to me, regardless of whether he's the best right back that we have. If he's not committed to the club, don't start him. But I thought we had a team that put a shift in. But if you'd have scripted this game, what you would have said would have happened. Wolves keep it tight. They sit in deep. We've never scored against them. We didn't score. They've never lost in London.
Not never. There was a time.
In the most
ago.
Recent Premier League time, right?
Under 4 clean sheets in a row for Wolves. Yes.
They keep it tight in the first half, and they get you on the counter in the second half. They kept it tight in the first half, and they got us on the counter in the second half. So it was exactly as is what you would have thought that would have happened. So I don't think as a West Ham fan, if you think, you can't be more disheartened after the game than you were before because what you thought would have happened. The disappointing thing was that we could have played for another 2 days and we wouldn't have scored.
What formation did you play?
But this is the thing, right? I don't know what our attacking game plan was. Like if you go into a game, you need to know what's our strategy to score goals. Because is it get wide men in, whip it into the box, and try and get on the end of crosses? Is it to try and unlock the defence with through balls or intricate passes? Now you've got 3 centre backs there that are just giants in size, Cody and Bolly, and Antonio is strong, but he's not going to win anything aerially against those 3. He's not going to be able to. So I don't know what the attacking game plan strategy was. Are we going to unlock their defence with a cute pass? Well, who's the guy that's going to do that? Is that Anderson? Because he didn't play, and we replaced him with Lanzini, who didn't play. So I'm worried now. Where I've seen us do okay in games is where we can hit teams on the counter and get in behind them and use pace, which we do have. The style of football behind closed doors, there are very few teams you've talked about, especially in this heat that we're going to get as well, that are going to leave a lot of space in behind and come on to us. The Newcastle Burnley games that were looking like good fixtures in our running are not looking like good fixtures for us anymore. So I don't know how we are going to score goals. That's the problem here, James.
I think it's more important that you concede less than what Villa and Bournemouth will probably do over the next
4 weeks.
Yeah,
and defensively, to be honest with you, we did okay for large chunks of the game. It was how you can leave a guy free at the back post twice is unforgivable. And Creswell, I mean, I can't blame him, right? I mean, how many people are going to stop Traore bullying him and putting a cross in? It's very hard to do, but you've got to double up on him or something. It's hard. It's very hard to stop Traore. So I'll give him a bit of slack.
That cross.
You can't leave Jimenez or Neto.
That cross for the Jimenez goal is probably best cross of the season.
It's on a plate.
Right up
so
there.
Good.
Listen, if Trent does that cross, people go mental, mate.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely magnificent cross, almost undefendable. The second goal, you're talking about Ngakia not playing at right back. Well, look at the way Ryan Fredericks defended that. That's why Ngakia played at right back, mate.
I get it. We got then you've got a bigger issue strategically at the board level and transfer strategy and what have you. For the regular listeners that won't listen to Tottenham and some of the other pods, right? And it's a structural thing with a transfer strategy. Getting relegated is the only way some of the dross that we have in the club will be gotten rid of. The Lanzini, Felipe, and so on. If we stay up, they're going to linger around. And that is a problem for me. Now, I almost feel like I can't be bothered to watch the game against Europe tomorrow night. Because even if we win 10-0, it won't put me in any better mood about the state of my football club. So I can't win. Either we lose, in which case I'm in a bad mood, or we win, in which case I'm in a bad mood. And that's the state I've got to, where nothing good can happen from that Spurs game tomorrow. Even if we beat you 20-0, I will know in my heart that there's bigger problems that are being papered over by 1 victory or 2 victories. And so style of play and all of that aside, I'm worried. And I'm one of the most optimistic and put a positive spin on the club and what we can potentially do. But this is a difficult space that we're going to go into a run in. I think we'll scrape it and stay up.
Let me get you out of your headspace and let me tell you that relegation for you would be disastrous. Genuinely. I know what you're saying about getting people No, it would be, Suj. I'm telling you it would be, right?
It wouldn't be. We need to rebuild from the ground up. So,
but you can do that. You can do that within the Premier League. You can do that within the Premier League.
I don't think we will.
Under this climate,
Premier League,
you don't want to be missing that money at the moment. I'm telling you, it's not a good thing. You say rebuild.
It's not my money.
Rebuild.
Couldn't care.
No, I get that. Rebuild with what? I think positives. I think Declan Rice playing at centre-half is potentially a very, very good move. I think you have massive issues in the full-back areas.
He played there because Bonner picked up a knock. And Bonner's going to come back in.
You play another side tonight who's got massive issues in the full-back area. The reason why I say tomorrow night, the reason I say Rice at centre-half is potentially a good move is because I would seriously worry about Mark Noble in these conditions at the moment. And I think Rice and
Too
Souček
old.
will make a better pairing in midfield. It's a shame you can't clone Declan Rice, as much as we've sometimes been critical of him at certain points this season. I think what you played at the weekend was basically a 4-4-2. And I think the design was very similar to something we saw in David Moyes' first spell, when he tried to get Lanzini off of Arnautovic. I think he tried to do the same here with Anderson off of Antonio. Anderson's effectiveness on the game was 0, unfortunately. And Lanzini's had a massive decline for whatever reason, injuries, his feeling towards the club since that period when he was playing very, very well with Arnautovic. Yeah, could be. You're right. It was pre-World Cup.
That injury before the World Cup, and then didn't go with the Argies, and then he's never come back the same.
But I think that's the way you're going at the moment, is to play Anderson in the hole. Now, in spite of that, the only two I would look at from FPL perspective is Antonio and Jared Bowen. I would seriously still keep a very strong eye on both of them and know what you're saying about Newcastle and Burnley, 33 and 34. You're looking at going, they've got nothing to play for. But defensively, they're not the easiest sides to play against. And they're Newcastle not. Very much exposed you on the counter-attack already this season in the game at the Olympic Stadium. And there were signs yesterday from Newcastle, which we'll come on to, is that they might actually be in a good place with the likes of St. Maximin and Almiron and Richie at the moment. So I get what you're saying. Not as good on paper as it looks, but I do think come 33, we'll have a look again and consider the likes of Jared Bowen and Antonio. And I think Flappy's all right, by the way. For those wildcarding, I think he's a decent shout.
Yep, but I don't see us keeping clean sheets.
Wolves, where I was beginning to think 3 fixtures and then move for Arsenal and Sheffield United, I'm in a completely different headspace about those 2 fixtures now. So happy with Doherty, Traore and Jimenez almost definitely stay if I wildcard that treble up. And then, yes, I may look to move away from Traore. That combination, Traore to Jimenez, 6 goals Traore's laid on for Jimenez. No more has been laid on by one player to another.
I think between them, it's 10 goals now between the two of them.
Total, I think, where they've returned for each other.
9 before the game, so.
They are this year's Wilson and Fraser, if you will.
The bottom line is, with Wolves, the 3 of them are very clearly and easily the 3 best, Doherty, Traore and Jimenez, and also affordable for every FPL manager. We're going to get to a point where their ownership, all of them, is going to be in the high 30s, 40%. And that's it. Like, you can wax lyrical about the rest of it. I think a few people are looking at Willy Bolly and doubling up because Willy Bolly is quite cheap, and I don't mind that at all. But Doherty, Traore and Jimenez are just a very easy, simple, the 3 best, all affordable, in a team that every week is just Control C, Control V. Same game plan, same structure. Trust them, reliable.
I don't know, because obviously this was a bit different, and even Bradley was a bit caught out by the fact
they had more of the ball.
With 3-5-2, once they changed to 3-4-3 and brought Traore and Neto on into wider positions, they took the game away from you once they put your extra attacking play on the pitch. And the caution with Traore particularly is him in the last half hour of a game as a substitute, whether he likes it or not, is such a fucking weapon, mate, that they might continue to go that way and use Traore and Neto in the last half hour of games. It wouldn't surprise me. It's something to watch out for. You'd shit yourself, hour gone in 30-degree heat, and you start feeling knackered. They're bringing Traore on. How do you feel as a left back? I mean, you're in trouble. You're in trouble anyway.
I felt it on I know from experience on Saturday. As soon as Traore's coming on, you're just like, there's trouble here. There's
absolutely.
Trouble here.
And I think,
the guy needs 5 minutes.
Wolves would be better off, and I'm not sure how this is going to work, but they would be better off over the next 8 game weeks using Traore like that, is my opinion. Because it just, and in any case, anyway, if you just look at Wolves over the course of the whole season, their second half performances are much better than their first half performances. Go and compare Wolves' first half results, second half results. Yeah. Chalk and cheese, mate. Second half, they might even be best. And I think first half, they'd be like relegation candidates. It's such a difference. But they're obviously a very fit side. Their first fault is caution first. The interesting thing from the weekend, I thought, was the amount of control and possession they had in the game. Because so often they're happy to give it up. I think it's another reason why the game was very slow in the first half. I think Wolves will be quite happy to go on Bournemouth, do your best on Wednesday night, and it'll be really interesting to see. Note on Bolly as well, because Wolves defensively have been so much better because he came back in. And although you're quite right to say Doherty's the best option, Bolly, I can tell you now, if he stays fit, will play every minute for Wolves unless he gets an injury mid-game.
I think the clean sheet record with and without him is chalk and cheese. I think it's 6 out of 9 when he plays or something like that.
There is always a chance that they could use Traore instead of Doherty at right wing back. They can also switch Johnny from left to right and play Ruben Vinagre at left wing back. So Doherty, there's always a little bit of a risk. I would look at it and think Saturday, they obviously play again Wednesday, and then Saturday, strongest team. Then they've got a nice little break where they can then regroup again. So generally speaking, yes, Doherty over Bolly for me, but Bolly will give you a little bit more security, and he's going to get you quite a few 6s and 7s. Doherty will get you a couple of 1s and 2s, and he'll get you a couple of 12s as well.
James, we'll be talking for an hour. We've got 4 games to go.
Okay, sweetheart. Bournemouth Palace.
We've got Bournemouth Palace. One of the very few things that brought me back to reality was, okay, the teams below us are losing as well. But and to go in so early, I mean, is Milivojevic one of the ones that hasn't been talked about that might have put his hand up at 6.7, still on pens? If he can put free kicks like that in the top corner week in, week out. Palace's defensive record recently, 4 clean sheets in a row. Kelly's been getting quite a few shout-outs. A lot of people had him. Cahill, I'm thinking about there. But you've got Scott Dan's come in as well. PVA, maximum bonus points. Palace?
But it's interesting that, like I said, since Scott Dan's come in with Gary Cahill, was talking about it on our Patreon pod this morning. It's 4 clean sheets in a row. 7, 6, 8 and 6 are Scott Dan's returns in that period, 4.3. However, Palace have now put themselves in a very good position where generally they could smell the Europa League. The problem is, I reckon they've got the hardest fixture run to come. Liverpool, Burnley, Leicester, Chelsea, Villa, Man United, Wolves, Tottenham. I'm afraid I'll be passing them by, but they are doing it. They've finished before lockdown extremely well, and obviously did very well at the weekend. Those 4 fixtures, for reference, the 3 including before lockdown: Newcastle, Brighton, Watford, Bournemouth. Now, compare that with some of the games I said they've got coming up, you're looking at a very different type of fixtures. So, for me, they'd just be a move on over. I know people will be drawn to PVA 5.6, finishes the season well. I wouldn't. If I was going in, I would still look at like Cahill, Dan at 4.3 level. But I think the likes of Newcastle, Burnley, similar prices, the likes of Jamal Lascelles, Charlie Taylor, better runs for me. So
if you look at Bournemouth, you're talking about difficult fixture runs. They're about to walk into Wolves, Newcastle, then Man United, Tottenham, Leicester City, and then Southampton. That's brutal for them. They could be down by game week 35, 36 if they don't get much out of these games, unfortunately.
Bournemouth are complete avoid as well. I think it's a mess. The whole Fraser saga's really not helped. David Brooks was clearly not ready, unfortunately. But they need to play through him. He's integral. Neil Grover at AFC BNG's been kind of screaming that all season, like how much they've missed him. And he's their one shot that he's going to provide the magic. Them fixtures, as you said, is brutal. So I can't see them winning the games. It's going to keep them up. Really, really can't. Wouldn't see them getting anything out of Wolves on Wednesday evening. And therefore, I think there's every chance they'll be further adrift. They're still in it, don't get me wrong. I think the thing with them is you've always felt over the years, very suddenly they were capable of putting 3 wins together back to back. If I look at the games I expect them to get something in left, Newcastle, then they've got Man United. Tottenham, arguably, yeah, they could target that and say, yeah, there's a chance of 3 points. Then it's Leicester and Man City after that. They finished with Southampton, Everton. And I think Southampton and Everton, actually, with the likes of Ings, Armstrong, Redmond, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, etc., it's going to have too much damage for them defensively at the moment. So I think I can't see, as much as you go on about West Ham and how poor it is at the moment, I think you're better than the 3 that are in the bottom 3, mate. And that's why I think you'll be all right.
I agree. But it's a sad state of affairs when you're going down because people are shitter than you deserve. You're staying up because people are shitter than you.
Just one final note on Palace. I think they're a little bit better off with this system now with Jordan Ayew playing on the right. And Ayew's goal is a perfect point in case of why Wilfried Zaha gives me the hump. Because Wilfried Zaha will never score the type of goal that Jordan Ayew scored on Saturday, where he is right on the right-hand touchline and he busts a gut to get there, and his fullback can't see him coming. Zaha just will not get those sort of goals, and that's why, as we've said before, he's not going to hit top level and get the sort of moves he wanted. That's what he needs in his game. If he could add that sort of movement to his game, he'd put another 7-8 goals on his goal tally. He won't do it.
Let's talk about Newcastle 3, Sheffield United 0. This is what happens when the threat of £200 million coming into your football club and everybody's place being put on the line happens. Suddenly, they put in a performance that nobody saw coming. I mean, when I feel like I need to reach out to our friend FPL Blade Tomo, because I think his keyboard's broken, because every single tweet he put out was in all caps. So either he's got the key stuck, but it's just all capitals or something. He was not a happy bunny.
I know why he wasn't happy, because something happened here to Sheffield United, which is very, very rare. And it's called back-to-back bad performances, because they weren't good at Villa either. We know they got robbed with a goal, etc., but they were bad. Before we talk about the teams, I want to give Sheffield United fans a little bit of perspective, and we've raved about them all season. Chelsea, at this stage last season, after 30 games, were on 57 points, 6 more than they have now. Chelsea were 6th at this stage last season, to give you some perspective. In any other season, and I think Chris Wilder kind of mentioned this a little bit after the game as well, this talk of Sheffield United and Europe and stuff would not be on the table. It's just that Chelsea, United, Spurs, Arsenal, who all finished last season like a car crash, have been fucking awful again. I think Wolves actually have even only got 2 more points than they had at the same stage last season, which doesn't feel that way.
No,
their point totaled, but I think Wolves feel like they're going to kick on into gear, and the fact that there's no Europa League football, but they are also used to the 3 games a week, is beneficial for them. I think for Sheffield United, and we spoke about this a little bit with Tomo, and he said he wasn't concerned because they'd had it regularly in the Championship. But going 3 times a week in the Premier League is a very, very different beast. And they're still in the FA Cup as well. So there is no let-off for them, especially if they beat Arsenal at the weekend, which they're still very, very capable of doing. The major issue they had yesterday was, I spoke on Thursday about Jack Robinson playing centre-half, and me forgetting that he wasn't playing was a really, really good sign for him. Well, yesterday it stood out like a sore thumb. And the reason it stood out like a sore thumb was because Newcastle did what they usually do without the ball, which is sit off, and they're very, very good at it, by the way. And all of Sheffield United's attacks ended up going down the right-hand side, and Newcastle knew it. It's part why they kept swapping St. Maximin and Matt Ritchie, I believe. Because Basham and O'Connor were so good at coming out from the back and doing those overlapping runs. Your man was just not ready for it on the left-hand side, and it gave Ender Stevens a nervous day as well, because he didn't know what was happening inside of him. Now, Ender Stevens can't be excused on what happens on St. Maximin's goal, but suddenly you're putting doubt into that back 5. Plus, exactly what we spoke of on Thursday with Egan is what led to the red card. A central ball over the top in behind, and he was worried. We spoke about, could Andy Carroll do that job potentially? But Joel Linton, for as shit as he's been, he scored, admittedly with no crowd there to see it, but he gave Egan the exact troubles that Kim Davis was giving Egan in the early part of that game at Villa Park last Wednesday. And they played on it. And now everybody knows it. Now they're going to get targeted. But they've obviously got no Henderson at United, no Egan, and O'Connell. We're waiting on news, although Chris Wilder's press conference is, I think it is due today, I think. So we should get him. Without O'Connell again, that suddenly becomes a mess. You're talking about Jagielka playing against Martial, Rashford and the like, with the young lad who's obviously very inexperienced. They could even go to a back 4, which we never see them change, because it will be a mess. Sanderberg in midfield really struggled. I thought John Lundstrom did enough to edge him out personally, and should have played. But they were just sloppy. There was one point in it was right on about 25 minutes gone, where Norwood, who's normally always very good on the ball, he gave the ball away, and you could hear Wilder. It was like for fuck's sake, but it was like a disappointment in terms of what am I watching here? It's not the team I'm familiar with. So look, they've had a dip. They've had loads of praise from us, so they've got to get it back when it's been bad as well. And in that second half, I know they went down to 10 men, but they were shocking, right? They weren't good at all. And it just shows...
You could say that this is a situation where people asked us before the restart very often, which teams are going to struggle without a crowd? And I don't know if it's down to the lack of crowd or it's down to a lack of match fitness, which caused this dip in form. But it's something to keep an eye on, that it could well be that behind closed doors, they just haven't adapted to it very well at all. Hasn't helped their rhythm. I think
the two sides they've played has not particularly been beneficial from that point of view, because suddenly they go into the restart with a game in hand, win it in their fifth, and then thinking Newcastle, can they even push into fourth this week? Would probably have been their thinking. And it's a different pressure. I've spoken about this expectation on pressure. All that break, everybody sat back now and gone, fuck me, they're a good side. But all the other clubs have started thinking it as well now. And there's no surprise in terms of how Sheffield United are going to play. No one's getting surprised anymore. You know what's coming. And it will still damage sides. And I think it will still damage some of the better sides, by the way. But you take a component out of that back five, and clearly we've seen it's a major, major issue. And it's going to be an issue for them at United on Wednesday. If O'Connell's not fit, they've got big problems. If O'Connell's fit, they might be better off playing Jagielka as the central of the back three. Might be the best way to go with his experience, for him to sit there, just drop in a couple of yards deeper. Because at the moment, they've gone from thinking... I think at half-time yesterday, everybody was thinking, do you know what? Every Sheffield United game left might finish 0-0. Suddenly, it looks like a very different prospect having to play Manchester United, especially with no Henderson as well. Because he was, you could say he's at fault for a couple of the goals yesterday, but he's been good in the two games as well.
Let's give Newcastle a little bit of credit, because they did okay. They did well. I mean, St. Maximin, is he potentially... Traore Mark II, where we've talked about how he's ridiculously rapid and not got any end product, but over time has suddenly developed into, has got a little bit of end product, and he's a real live wire. So I think he's the standout there. I mean, Almiron, I think, could turn into a good Premier League footballer given a little bit more time. Joe Linton, no chance. Matt Ritchie, maximum bonus points. Playing in midfield, goal and an assist on the set pieces. A few putting their hands up there, maybe.
Lascelles, Ritchie, and St. Maximin, all okay. I feel Ritchie, for me, like you've missed that haul. There's not going to be many of them. 5.3 potentially on pens. It will tempt people. I would prefer personally to pay the £1 million cheaper for Jamal Lascelles and leave it on the bench. That would be my take on it. St. Maximin offers an interesting differential. Really, really does. Can't argue the price, 5.4. You haven't got massive expectations at that price. He's going to play every game. So it's okay. It's okay. It wouldn't interest me. I think they took advantage of a situation yesterday, which they don't normally do, but they did. And I think they're probably helped a little bit by this change to a back four, which is benefiting them offensively. It might also weaken them defensively. Worth noting as well, Danny Rowe's fitness has obviously declined massively over the last couple of years since his injury in early 2017. And Newcastle have not been allowed to re-register Paul Dummett, who was originally out for the season, but is now fit. The Premier League have not allowed him to be reintroduced. So there's every chance Ritchie could end up filling in on occasion for Rose at left back. But if people want to go for it, great, go for it. It wouldn't be for me.
Let's talk about Villa 1, Chelsea 2.
Team was interesting from Chelsea's perspective. With Giroud up front, Loftus-Cheek in this attacking position.
Tammy, partially through injury, right? He'd had a little bit of a knock in the build-up, is what I hear. So a lot of people asked whether Giroud would get the nod before the game. We thought Tammy would keep his place. But Pulisic on the bench was maybe a little bit of a surprise for some. But Azpilicueta, Alonso had decent games. I thought overall Chelsea definitely deserved the points.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a time, though, where I was worried that we were going to drop into the relegation zone because Villa were going to nick it. But they didn't do enough. And Grealish was the concern with Villa. Like, he's their talisman. He's the one that needs to influence games for them to be able to get out of the relegation zone. And we've had 2 games now since the restart, and he hasn't been able to do that. Unless Grealish is creating goals or scoring goals, they're not going to get out of this. And he's 0 from 2 now. So for Villa, it's a real problem.
And worth saying, nothing in those particular games where you felt he was going to do something either. I don't think.
No.
Anything
don't
get
me wrong.
He was going to get him free kicks in good positions. Of course, he's capable.
He's a skillful player. He's technically very good. He always finds that extra half a yard, but he's not been able to do anything with it. So yeah, I mean, take him out and put him in a top side, and I don't think the issue is Grealish. I think the issue is Villa.
Of course. They need to find a system that can work for him, but it's the old Zaha Palace problem. Everyone knows he's the main threat. Shut him down. And I think he's incredibly astute at winning free kicks, but I didn't feel like it was anything else was going to come from him during the game. And I felt like that in the Sheffield United game as well. They need to find a different system to get the best out of him. That relationship with Target felt non-existent. When he went wandering, it didn't particularly happen for him. I think Villa are a poor side, and I can't see them particularly not shipping goals, which then is going to put them in the same problem that you've got with Norwich. And I don't see enough goals in them. I think, should they lose to Newcastle, I really can't see them getting out of it. If they can win at Newcastle and get their heads above it, they might have a bit of momentum for the Wolves fixture, but then after that, it's Liverpool, United, and
Wolves, Liverpool, United, a stubborn Palace, Everton, Arsenal. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Let's wrap up
We've all got our fingers crossed that game week 38 is going to matter for Aston Villa.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it will. Let's see where we get to. Anything on Chelsea?
Yeah, interesting that Alonso played left back. And I think Alonso and Azpilicueta ordinarily would be great FPL assets. I might get one because I like what's coming up for them fixture-wise. West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, after City, they've got West Ham away, Watford at home, Palace, Sheffield United away, and then Norwich at home.
There's a good run between 32, 36. The problem is, even with them fixtures, you wouldn't fancy them to keep clean sheets. You're kind of looking for the attacking returns, which certainly Alonso is capable of. And Azpilicueta goes very understated in that respect as well. Was obviously involved in both the goals in the build-up, assisting Pulisic's goal for the first. They're the only two I'd be looking at the moment, in spite of what I'm saying defensively, because I have no idea what they're doing in the attacking midfield positions in terms of who's playing, not playing. I need to see more. I think Loftus-Cheek could break out as a really, really good asset for the rest of this season, like he did towards the end of last season. But I have no idea how often he does or doesn't play at the moment, which I think is also dangerous for Mason Mount, because I think people are leaning back into them. He had a really good effort.
He's the one that I felt like Mason, if I'm going to go with any, because of the price, if he does miss out with Mason Mount, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Whereas
they've got Barkley as well. You know they're going to rotate. It's kind of a little bit like back in that catch-22 with Bergwijn. Quite often, he's going to come off early, I think. He's a very, very talented player, but I think his position is going to alternate. They've had Jorginho suspended as well, so he's to come back into the equation. You've got Kante, Kovacic, you've got little Gilmore, and then attacking, you've got Loftus-Cheek, Barkley. They're all competing with each other. Then you've got William, Pulisic. There's a lot of competition in them attacking mid-areas, so I think, unfortunately, during this period, it's probably an avoid for me, but I'm going to have a strong think, I think, particularly about Alonso over the next 24 hours.
James, I'm going to ask you to wrap up Everton and Liverpool in 60 seconds so that we can get through a few Twitter questions before the end of the show. There's no goals to talk about, so it shouldn't be difficult, should it?
Liverpool poor, completely imbalanced when they miss key components such as Robertson
Salah.
and Mohamed Salah, obviously. I wonder if there's a possibility that Salah's not played this game, and we'd heard, certainly a few people in our Slack channel said they'd heard rumours that it was every chance on the Saturday that he wasn't going to play, and had possibly suffered a little niggle on the Friday in training, and it wasn't worth the risk. I wonder if there's a chance that Mane's even rested against Palace. I wouldn't foresee it, but I don't think it's impossible. I would think with the gap from Palace to Man City, where they've got 8 days off, that they go full strength. So I imagine Salah starts in against Palace. I imagine Mane starts. But even that, without Robertson, big imbalance. Gomez did okay at left back, but it's not right. Didn't look at their best. I thought Everton did okay. It was interesting that in transitions, you'd have like Iwobi going into right back areas, and it basically transitioned from a 4-4-2 to a 5-3-2 at times without the ball. And the front two were a threat. They're becoming a very good partnership, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. And they will certainly bother Norwich on Wednesday.
I agree with you. Like downgrading Mo Salah to Bruno Fernandes gives me a lot of money left in the bank, and that money could very well be upgrading Abdullah Decore to Richarlison for me, because I think that's a good shout. He's lively and he plays at his best when he's aggressive and attacking.
Well, this is part of my point. What's the better combo there? Richarlison and Fernandes, or Salah and Decore?
No question, James. There's just no question in that at the moment.
Well, that's part of the point, isn't it? You have to factor in what you're thinking with captaincy from that perspective. But yeah, I think it's, and most won't do it in terms of being brave and going without a Mane or Salah, because you can't argue with the consistency. You know they're going to get returns, etc. I just think, particularly in Fernandes, like the fact that he's actually outdoing them now points per match in FPL. It's not a joke. And he could have got more on Friday night. There's no doubt about it. And what I've said about Sheffield United, I think suddenly from not being on my radar as a captaincy option for this week, he's now almost a shoo-in for that for me.
Let's do a few Twitter questions before we wrap up the show, James, because we've had plenty in. A lot that we have covered through our analysis of the games, the likes of, should I buy Bergwijn? Who's the best replacement goalkeeper for Leno, and so on and so on. So we will have a rundown on Twitter at some of the questions, if there are any that are interesting that we didn't potentially touch on. But there are a few here. One that comes up quite often in conversation is around Sheffield United, and we've talked about how disappointing they are. I was on a free hit, so my double defence doesn't matter. You were on a treble defence and are now coming off the back of it, and you're wildcarding. So question from Alan Cronin: are Sheffield United assets dead now? And I did notice a couple of other people as well talking about whether or not they should be bidding all of their Sheffield United assets. Here we go, FPL Warrior. Stick with Sheffield United defenders or get rid. It's a straightforward question, really, James. Of your 3, how many are you keeping should you wildcard?
None. Simple as that. I look at the fixtures and go, United, Tottenham, Burnley, Wolves, Chelsea, Leicester. That's the next 6. How many clean sheets you see in there? We know that they're hugely capable, and if they get their components back, particularly O'Connell, Egan, I think he only misses the 1 game, doesn't he? As does obviously Henderson. Then, yeah, it's as strong as. But the teams they're playing against, you would expect to score against them, I think. It's only from the reverse fixtures, it was only Burnley that didn't from those next 6. That was the Lundstrom 21-pointer, wasn't it? So what we're saying, 1 point in one clean sheet in 6 as an expectation.
It's not worth it.
Plus, you're going to be tempted to play them. My original anticipation was going with 3.
You're right. There's a fear with Sheffield United if you don't play him, like a Lundstrom. If you have him in your squad and you don't play him, you know he's going to slap you in the face. Yeah,
I mean, my original intention pre what I'd seen over the last week was probably to play Baldock against Man United and suffer it for the day. And then I'd have been looking towards a free hit and wild card on the previous strategy. And should I decide to go that way, that's what I'll do. I'll play Baldock and I'll suffer it. One idea I would even contemplate, if I don't wild card, is to go, Morris, Fernandes, take a little hit, sell any of them Sheffield United guys for Maguire or Wan-Bissaka. It might even be worth it. They've scored 30 goals, Suj.
Yeah, it's decent.
No, it's not decent.
It's not decent from an attacking point of view.
No, 30 goals. It's bad.
You avoid it from a FPL point of view is what I mean to say. Sorry. This question's come up a lot. Fernandes is as a given in pretty much a lot of these questions, like Shark FPL asks. But it's like Pogba or Rashford or Martial to partner Fernandes moving forward. You've got FPL failure. Rashford or Martial or Pogba to partner Bruno Fernandes moving forward. I think everybody's focused on Fernandes, but the Rashford or Martial has now become a Rashford or Martial or Paulo Pogba as another option that's been chucked into the mix.
I think.
Do you have any thoughts on people that want a second attacking asset?
I think I prefer, by the way, getting a defensive asset first.
Yeah,
really do.
None of these questions mention that, so I'm assuming that they've got a Maguire or Wan-Bissaka.
I don't know if that's a little bit on fear of De Gea, etc., and he obviously should have done better with Bergwijn's goal on Friday night. But defensively, they've been very, very good. There was 8 clean sheets in 12 or something before lockdown. Mass improved once they got themselves into a solid back four. It's worth keeping an eye on Lindelof's injury status. That said, he was out for a while. He's a suitable stand-in, but those forward began to build a relationship, include Shaw and Wan-Bissaka and Maguire in that back four. De Gea has issues because he wants to save everything with his feet. I think is his natural instinct. I think it's gone from being a great goalkeeper to his instinct is, I'm amazing with my feet. His first thought is to save most things with his feet. And that's why he really struggles when it's in his midriff. To answer the question, Pogba, Martial or Rashford, I would favour probably Martial because of the value. But if they were all the same price, he'd be third on the list. Does that help?
Well, I'm going to be much more... I'm going to go Rashford. I think it's Fernandes, Rashford and Maguire are the 3 United that I want to end up with in a couple of game weeks. I don't like Martial. I feel like Martial might be dropped. Rashford pushed further forward. I think United have more options there. So for me, Rashford is the one that I would go to out of them.
I think I might be quite happy to have balance and just go Fernandes plus Maguire or Wan-Bissaka.
Excuse me. Last question, James. And this is a biggie. Best captaincy option for game week 31, all things considered.
Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes.
I'm going to say that.
Genuinely.
I'm going to go with that as well. I mean, Bruno Fernandes now is looking like one of those players that you see that's not in your team and he can potentially really hurt you. There we go.
I can't go without any more. People have been screaming it since pre-lockdown, like this guy's an amazing talent. What I can certainly say is the fear I felt as a football fan watching him against my team Friday night and thinking every time this guy gets the ball 30 yards out, he's a fear. And there's certain people you think, go on, mate, hit it. This guy, the way he strikes through a ball and he just puts a little bit of outside on it, it moves all over the place. Doesn't even need to be hitting the corners and stuff. If the goalkeeper takes one step the wrong way and go down the middle and beat him, he doesn't think twice. He's the sort of player that even though he plays in that position, I think he's capable of getting hat-tricks in games. I think he's... Put it this way. The price he is now, what is he, 8.6? He won't be that.
He is 8.6.
He won't be that price next year, mate. He'll be 10 or more.
100%
Absolutely.
agree with you there. Guys, thanks for sending in all of your Twitter questions. Apologies we couldn't get through more. We do a podcast every Monday for patrons where we just do a Q&A. So do have if you can spare a couple of quid and want even more content, then you head over to patreon.com /Planet FPL, where you'll be able to find even more information around that. This week coming at you, we have a clash of the correspondents with our new Leicester City correspondent, So do make sure Aaron Lager's joined us for the rest of the season and next year to become our Leicester City correspondent. We'll be giving him some love and welcoming him on board the Planet FPL team. Alongside our Brighton correspondent, FPL Seagull, let's see how confident he is. Sam is staying up for the rest of this season. As well as another podcast. What's the rest of the schedule? James, remind me. We've got
it's a good start, Suj. It's a little different this week.
Sky on Wednesday. Because of the games. Yeah, as usual.
Sky on Wednesday. Thursday, Ask James is going to be Thursday instead of Friday. I'll probably stream 12 o'clock YouTube. And that is so Suj and I can do this again on Friday and review all of the Game Week 31 fixtures. So you've got something current and up to date for Game Week 32. I'm also intending, time permitting, if anyone's interested, to stream on YouTube for the final hour before deadline on Tuesday, so at 4 o'clock UK time. So if you've got your last minute FPL dilemmas, which I think particularly a few knocking about on wildcards will certainly have, and we'll obviously watch out for Rockstar's guitar, etc. Come and join me for basically Ask James Extreme, 4 p.m. on Tuesday on YouTube. All the patrons know what the content is for the week.
There we go.
They bloody should do anyway.
Thank you for joining us today. And don't forget to head over to Twitter where you can find me at Suj James. You can find James at Planet FPL Pod. And wherever you're listening to your podcasts, make sure you hit subscribe, or on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification bell and you will know as soon as any content goes live. Other than that, ciao for now.
Be nice to each other. Good luck, everyone. Cue music, man child.